Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chat From a Hat podcast. I am your host, Josh Brown, along with my co-host,
Caleb Luther.
And Caleb, how are you this evening?
I'm okay. You know, it's that weird time at the beginning of the year when, you know, my birthday is coming up.
Your birthday is coming up. Well, folks.
It's in a couple of days.
It's in a couple of days. That's exactly right. Welcome to Chat From a Hat podcast. This is episode 3, The Toys That Made Us. Caleb, but what have you been into this week?
You know, a little bit of nothing. I was going to say everything, but I decided to go with nothing. No, it's been a sort of eventful in terms of like media this past week, because, you know, last night you had the Golden Globes, and then so many different award shows, like nominations have come out, like the SAGs and the Directors Guild, and this upcoming Sunday is the Critics' Choice Awards, and but yeah, the main thing that's been focusing on me, and I think it's a reflection on this week's research of this episode, is that my birthday is coming up, and I'm turning 33, the golden age of 33, and this episode, the research sent me down an existential crisis, I think.
Oh, God.
Which that happens every year at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. It's a mix of New Year's, even though time doesn't matter, but it does whenever your birthday is early in the year. But yeah, it sent me down an existential crisis. Like, what have I done with my life? What have I been doing with my life?
Oh, God.
I know it's not good, Josh. It's not good. But then I
mean, it could be.
But then I snap out of that. I snap out of that real quick, like I always do, and I try not to hold on to it. And luckily, the research that we've done this week for the episode is fun for the most part. So
I agree.
So I'm not in too much of a major depression because of it.
Well, understandable. So we watched Megan this week. You and I.
We did.
And Nancy went to the theater, and I was pleasantly surprised, but at the same time pleasantly disappointed at the movie.
It's so odd because that's a movie that was 100% not on my radar until last week. And you know, it got screened for critics and it got really good reviews. Like, that movie has like a 94 on Rotten Tomatoes. And I was like, oh, wow, is this going to be like a classic in January? That's crazy. That's unheard of. And then we watched the movie, and it's really not a horror movie.
It's not
at all.
It's not great, but it's not bad either.
It's not.
It's just it's like middle of the road.
It's not even remotely bad. It's good. But it is more of a sci-fi thriller. And I was really hoping that was going to be like a new... Like, I hate to call stuff an instant classic, but you know, I was hoping it was going to be sort of an instant classic dark comedy or horror comedy. But there's not enough comedy, and there wasn't enough horror. Like, there may be like one scene of real like tension and suspense, but for the most part, it's just very high on sci-fi and in some family drama stuff. So I liked that. I thought it was fun enough. I'd watch another one.
Sure. Yeah. I'm not sure that they're going to turn this into a franchise, because I'm assuming
this
is going to make some money.
It did make money, and they're already in talks of developing a sequel.
Of course.
Which makes total sense. Whenever a movie costs $14-15 million to make, and it makes like $30 million, it's like, okay. First week, it's like, yeah, we got to make another one. But, you know, for a January, for literally the first movie to come out in 2023, it was a good one.
Sure.
Like, you're not going to, there was like, it would have to be literally the worst year of cinema for that to end up in my top 10 at the end of the year.
Sure.
Like, it just ain't going to happen,
well,
you know.
But speaking of instant classics, you and I also watched No Country for Old Men this week.
Oh, God, we did. Yeah.
Me and you both watched that, and man, that movie just gets better every time I watch it.
Well,
I love that
I watched
movie.
it because I've been on a 2007 kick. That's what it's been my theme for January. It's like, I was heavily reminded that 2007 is considered to be like one of the greatest years in cinema. So I've watched a handful, and I got to No Country for Old Men, because for a second I thought maybe Zodiac was the best movie. Then I watched No Country for Old Men. I was like, this is the best movie from 2007. I've watched it so many times, man, and it's always really good. It's quotable as all get out. Yeah,
absolutely.
And the acting, direction, cinematography, the tension, the sickening tension, and honestly, like, there's one amazing shootout scene that I think is one of the best shootout scenes in cinema history. So
I agree. I completely
totally holds up. It's my favorite Best Picture winner of all time.
Sure.
And I have not seen every Best Picture winner, but out of the ones that I've seen, that's the best one, I think.
Before Megan, we saw the new trailer for A Knock at the Cabin,
We did.
Caleb, I've got some thoughts. I've got some
What's
thoughts.
the thoughts?
My general thought is this trailer gave away so much for an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and I'm afraid that it gave away too much.
It might have.
And
yeah.
And if it does, that's kind of disappointing because
That'll suck.
Yeah. Because if anyone's seen an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and I assume you have, you're listening to this podcast, so I'm assuming you've seen at least one of them. There's always that twist. It's always the twist. It's always the suspense. It's always this. M. Night Shyamalan is very hit or miss. Me and you can agree. He's very hit and miss on some things.
He's the definition of hit and miss.
Definition of hit and miss. His last movie was Old. I hated that movie.
Yeah, I did not like that movie.
You didn't like it either.
No.
So, but the movie before that was
Glass, and I liked it. It got bad reviews, but I liked it for what it was. It wasn't like a great conclusion to that trilogy.
Sure,
but I liked it. Yeah.
But I really feel that trailer gave away too much. Of that film, and I'm disappointed that was shown.
It's one of those things. Maybe we'll look back on what we're saying now, a month from now, or whenever the movie comes out, and be like, "Oh no, we were wrong." You never know, because if you look at every M. Night Shyamalan trailer, can you think of any of them that ever gave away anything important? I can't think of any.
Not really, but
because Old definitely, because the twist in Old was stupid, so you're not going to give that away. And obviously, like a movie like The Visit, I think that's an incredible twist in that movie. So if there is a twist, which there's going to be.
It has to be.
For better or for worse, there's going to be a twist. And I definitely don't think that we've seen it, but given the circumstances in the movie, I did like that first trailer because it literally just shows them in the cabin.
Yeah.
And this one shows a little bit more world building, and I'm like, I don't know if we needed to see that.
And who knows? This could be, because I don't know if anyone has seen. I'm sure nobody has. The critics have not seen this movie or anything.
No
yet.
way. No.
It may be a completely straightforward movie for him.
It could.
It could be.
It could.
There may not be a twist at all, and it's just a straightforward. This is my just wanting to make a normal movie type situation. Which, if that is the case, then I'm not going to be that upset that the trailer shows everything. But with his name on it, you go in thinking you're going to get something special.
Well, another thing interesting, which I did not know this until that last trailer, is that this is an R-rated movie, and he's only ever done one other R-rated movie, and we know what that is. It is The Happening, and if we ever do a guilty pleasures movie, that'll be talked about.
Oh, I'm sure it will, and I'm sure it's in the hat, so I'm sure we will talk about that at some point.
It's a terrible movie. I don't want it to be bad like that, obviously, but yeah, I'm interested to see what they do, because I think there will probably be some violence in it.
Sure.
Because I know he does not like to load his movies down with language and cursing. It's just something he doesn't do. I think he hates it. But he's not scared of a little bit of violence. So,
sure. Well, Caleb, let's swing it back to the Globes.
The Globes.
So we'll spin back to where it was.
The Globes.
And you have quite a lot to talk about. I'm sure.
Not really. The Globes do Globes things. This is the first year after a year of absence where they did not air the Globes last year because of controversy. That there's only like 100 members of the Hollywood Foreign Press, and apparently like all 100 of them were white, or I don't know. That they definitely diversified their portfolio this year. They put more members in it, but they brought it back, and it's back on NBC. And I don't think the Globes is like a huge precursor for like some of the more major award shows like the Oscars and like Critics' Choice and BAFTAs, but to some extent it can be. You never know. Like a movie or an actor can win an award at the Globes, and people can catch wind of that. Like, oh, I liked that. I liked seeing them win. Sure. I'm going to vote for them at this show.
Sure.
So like it is usually the first show of the award season. So I guess it has a little bit of that, but the show as a whole didn't upset me that much. The Fabelmans ended up winning Best Drama. It was not my favorite.
No.
Dare I say it was my second least favorite out of all those. But Elvis didn't win. And I do not like Elvis, so I was totally cool with that. Yeah, I would have preferred Top Gun Maverick or Avatar, The Way of Water to win. But I did not want Elvis to win. I would have got flashbacks of Bohemian Rhapsody winning a few years ago, and it would have further elevated my existential crisis.
Elvis is not as good as people make it out to be. I'm sorry, it's not.
It's a movie with a great performance, but I think as a movie, it's a mess.
It's a train
and I don't believe one single word of that movie. Like I almost think that the Weird Al movie is as truthful as the Elvis movie. But yeah, Fabelmans won Best Drama. wasn't that upset because I just did not want Elvis to win. But I don't want Fabelmans to win at the Oscars, though. Luckily, Fabelmans didn't go against Banshees of Inisherin or Everything Everywhere All at Once, which Banshees of Inisherin won Best Comedy last night, which I did love. I love that movie. I was hoping that Everything Everywhere All at Once was going to pull it out because it got a couple acting wins last night, which is really cool. But Banshees ended up winning. It was my second pick out of all the movies nominated last night. It was my second favorite, and yeah, I do love that movie. Don't mind it. It is more of an awards movie than Everything Everywhere. Austin Butler obviously won Best Actor. I haven't seen The Whale with Brendan Fraser, but I was definitely pulling for him over Austin Butler. And it has nothing to do with Austin Butler's performance. I think he's great. I cannot watch that man talk and give another speech. I just can't take him serious. I was watching it with my mom last night. She was like, "He's got a little bit of a southern draw. He must be from a southern state." I was like, "Oh, let's go check it out." Oh, he's from Anaheim, California.
You know, that to me is another topic that we have in the hat is method acting. Is it good or is it bad?
You know,
when you think method acting, and we'll touch on it in just a second. Method acting, the first thing I think of is Heath Ledger.
Yeah, I guess so.
And to me, we'll save it.
It's dangerous.
But it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Maybe him not to that extent, but it's the fact that he became or tried to be Elvis so much that it's his personality now, and that is a dangerous, dangerous line to tread down.
They even asked him in the post show. They brought up in the post show last night, and he said, "You know, I guess it's one of those things where whenever you like leave a country for a certain amount of years and you develop an accent, he was like I was Elvis for 3 years, and I guess he picked up on it." But I'm like, I'm getting Johnny Depp flashbacks.
Oh,
like it's similar. Or I cannot watch Johnny Depp actually like be himself because I'm like, dude, that's not how you talk, dude. Like,
he's always trying to be He's trying to be Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things. Hey, I'm glad for the guy, glad he won and all that.
Sure,
but I mean, I don't want to watch him give another acceptance speech. I'm hoping at the Oscars either Brendan Fraser beats him or Colin Farrell beats him because Colin Farrell is going to give a much funnier speech than Austin Butler. And you know what? His Irish accent, I totally buy because it's real. But yeah, it doesn't like anger me. We're just talking here, you know. It's whatever.
It angers me.
But I do not want to see him. I do not want to see him give another speech. Last thing that I want to touch on. It's actually the only thing that actually made me mad the whole night at the Globes.
Before I know what you're going to say, but before that, I want to say that they gave Steven Spielberg Best Director.
They did,
and to me, that's a
you know
boring. Move on. It's Steven Spielberg.
They awarded him because
we know he's good
because he's telling a story about his childhood that he's always wanted to tell. But to me, man, Spielberg has not made a great movie in 20 years.
No,
so I'm just like.
What was the movie that put us to sleep?
Bridge of Spies.
Bridge of Spies.
Yeah,
Snore.
I'm not saying it's bad, but it's nothing special and it's boring.
It's really
like,
not.
I really wanted the Daniels to win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. They really did something special with that movie, but I guess it might just be a little too weird for the award circuit. So the safe pick was Spielberg. What are you gonna do? At least it didn't go to Baz Luhrmann for Elvis. that was my motto the whole night. I was like, I know Austin Butler's gonna win, but nothing else better win. The thing that made me the most upset of the night goes into TV shows, and this is a show that I've loved for 7 years, and it just ended last year, and that's Better Call Saul. So it was nominated for Best Drama Series, and Bob Odenkirk was nominated for Best Actor, and. You know what? This bleeds over from even the Emmys. If I'm not mistaken, it's been nominated for 40 plus or maybe even 50 plus Emmys, and it has not won a single one. And you know what? It did not win anything at the Globes last night. The Globes likes to do this thing where a new show will come and they like to award it. They did it with Brooklyn Nine-Nine when it came out, and it beat I felt like at the time a much better Parks and Recreation. And last night they awarded, surprisingly, House of the Dragon, which. I mean, everybody thought Severance was going to win, but deep down in my heart, I was like, Better Call Saul is going to pull this out. The show's over. They're going to reward it for having such a great ending, you know? Because when Breaking Bad was out, it won everything.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, you make a show that's just as good as the last show that you made, basically, but it's not getting anywhere near the praise or love that show did.
I almost feel that was a kind of a product of its time because Breaking Bad was like doing things that other shows weren't doing, especially on network television.
I mean, I mean, Breaking Bad is totally deserved all those awards.
And I'm not saying anything, and I'm not taking that as a shot toward Better Call Saul because I've never seen it. I'm just saying from Breaking Bad's perspective that Breaking Bad was doing kind of groundbreaking television at that time because it was right on with The Walking Dead. I hate to say that, but The Walking Dead was doing things on the gore factor and stuff like that in shows that other shows weren't able to do at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Breaking Bad was about a chemist, a teacher chemist making meth. Like very rarely were you going to get that on network.
Yeah, shows like that definitely changed. Then you look at shows that came on FX at the time too.
Sure.
They all sort of like sculpted the way.
Sure.
I just really want a Better Call Saul to win something, man. Like Bob Odenkirk was incredible in that show, and he didn't win Best Actor. I don't remember who won Best Actor last night. I'd have to think about it, but it definitely didn't leave a big impression on me apparently because I don't remember. But I really wanted it to win something, and it did not. And just huge disappointment. Have I watched all of House of the Dragon? No, I've watched one episode. I'm just finding it hard to get invested in that world again after watching Game of Thrones. I'm just like, eventually I'll get into it, but right now it's Better Call Saul season, okay? And it deserves its awards, okay? And so, Emmys, I'm looking at you. You have one more chance this is next year because part 2 of Better Call Saul will be nominated, for Emmys this upcoming year.
Sure.
So don't screw it up like the Globes did, like they always do. Rant over.
Well, Caleb, before we move forward with our episode, we move back real quick again. And we want to thank everybody that has listened so far to Chat from a Hat. Caleb, we're up to 123 downloads of our 2 episodes so far. And we appreciate all of that. We appreciate the feedback that you all have given us about the show once again. Keep downloading, keep sharing, doing all of that to where, this bumps numbers up and more people will see it. We greatly appreciate all of that.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
Well, Caleb, let's go to this week's topic, the toys that made us. We're about 17 minutes into the show already, so we might as well get to the topic.
Let's do it.
So, Caleb, do you want to get started with that? Do you want me to go first? Who went first last week? I don't remember.
Don't matter.
Okay.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Because I got it. I mean, you got yours up too.
I got mine up too.
But I got mine up as well. Thinking about this episode, I had to really think really hard, and as I came to my conclusion of all the toys and whatnot that I've chosen here, they're not the most exciting choices, if I'm being honest with you.
Oh, mine are not either.
But I mean, there are some here that are I think would maybe consider maybe a cheat. Because we always do a cheat or two every week.
We're cheaters.
But to me,
cheater.
What classifies as a toy? I mean, what even is a toy? But yeah, I do have.
I had this paper football when I was a kid.
I do have quite a few toys here, and the first one here that it was actually the first one that I thought of after I pulled the topic out of the hat last week, and it is. And I even have name brand on here. Because there's a lot of Mattel on here.
Slinky.
No, not... Well, I mean, Slinky might pop up later, but I got the Mattel Lion King Pride Rock playset. It's from 1994 when the movie came out. It's a Pride Rock... I have pictures on here, but I had this thing. It was Pride Rock. And you could... It had... the top of Pride Rock, and if I'm not mistaken, it came with a few of the toys, a few of the lions. And if it didn't, I had them. I had them anyways because I was obsessed with Lion King in '94, like I'd say most kids are. But there was like a place where you could put a body of water you could pour water into as well.
Oh, that's cool.
And there was like the part of the movie where the hyenas hold the toucan like captive, and it has like the bones or whatever. It has that, and I loved that. I don't know where it went. I must like dumb kids do when they're like 12 or 13. Yeah. They sell it at like a yard sale or something like that. Not thinking about like why would I do that?
Why would I do that?
And it was such a great toy. I would take it to church because when you're 4 or 5 years old, you're not going to listen in the church. You're going to play with your toy. Okay,
sure.
You're going to listen to the preacher. You're going to play with that Mattel Pride Rock set. And I would play with that. I would wear that thing out. And I wish I still had it, but luckily it was very easy to Google, and I found tons of pictures. Like, yep, that's it. That's my toy. So
my list is like in chronological order.
So was mine. Just
from what I remember as a kid.
Yeah.
My first recollection was a rattle when I was a baby. That's a joke.
Jesus. Jeez, Josh.
But I was and you know this, and we've talked about this quite a bit. I was a huge Power Rangers fan as a kid, and one of my first, I've never told this story to you. I told it to Nancy the other night. She thought it was hilarious. One of my earliest recollections was receiving the Red Dragon Thunder Zord. Okay, it was one of those types of toys that came like right at Christmas. Okay, so I remember my mom was gone to the store doing last minute Christmas shopping, and this toy, we were off on I was just a child, right? And my father says to me that somebody dropped a package off on the front porch, to go get the package off the porch. So I go and get the package, bring the package in. It's not huge, it's just a little box of stuff.
Yeah.
He opens the box to see what it is in front of me. Well, it turns out to be the Red Dragon Thunder Zord. Oh. And he goes, "Oh, well, you're not supposed to see that." And he shuts the box back real fast. Oh. So I see it, and I'm infinitely excited. Like, I'm jumping around, I'm happy, and he gives me the toy. He gives me the toy early.
Yeah.
So my mom comes home and sees me just playing around with this red, long freaking dragon. And she was like, "Where did he get that?" And he was like, he saw the box. I just gave it to him. She goes, "That was supposed to be a Christmas present." So that's one of the first real vivid memory that I have. And I said to Nancy, I was like, if that's not a memory and that's a vivid dream that I've remembered my whole life.
It's probably real. Yeah.
And so the Power Rangers were from age 3 to 5 or 6, they consumed life.
Yeah.
If there was a toy out of them, it was one of those had to have it top, going down the aisles of a store, gotta have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were the very young years of stuff.
Yeah, it's cool to actually remember getting the toy. I don't remember actually getting my Lion King toy. I just remember having it and playing with it. But compared to my next one, which I do remember getting, I remember vividly getting this next one, and it had to be around the same time, maybe 95. I'm trying to think when this stuff came out, and this may be a cheap. I don't really care. Whenever I looked up 90s toys, it had stuff like this on here. I'm like, I'm going to consider this a toy because this was a big part of my childhood, and I played with this a lot.
Sure.
And you know what? So did my parents. My parents played with this a lot too, and that is on Christmas Day. Let's say 95, if not 95, 96.
Sure.
Coming to the living room, what do I see on the TV? My parents playing this video game called Subterranea on Sega Genesis. So the Sega Genesis came with Subterranea, which is, I guess, has a cult following.
Sure.
It's a very difficult game. I even played it in my adult years. I'm still bad at it. But it also came with Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Oh.
So it came with that game. So that was my introduction to video games in general. So I started off strong with video games. With Sonic, Sonic 3 is probably still my favorite Sonic game. And it may be because of that, because I remember just being filled with joy that we had that. And it's one of those things, I don't even remember asking for that. I might have. Yeah. But the fact that I got it, I'm like, oh, kids have these. Yeah. So this makes me a real kid now. You know?
I mean, to be honest with you, the Sega Genesis is on my list too.
I mean, I think it has to be either a Sega or a N64, one of those things, because that is a big part of the 90s. And everybody in my family played that Sega Genesis. I remember I would come home, gosh, years later, let's say third or fourth grade, I'd come back and my mom would be playing Sonic 3, we'd be at the carnival level, which has that really hard part where you're on that thing and you're trying to get underneath that platform. And we'd be like, "Mom, we got to beat this thing right now." It's my dad was more fond of Subterranea. Yeah. But I don't want to go into other games because those were just the two games that I started with. And I guess it came with the console. And I just remember being filled with joy. And I loved that Sega Genesis. I did sell that Sega. I do remember selling that Sega Genesis at a yard sale some years later, back whenever I was into PS2. Yeah. But I did end up getting another Sega Genesis, whenever I was 20,
something
maybe,
like that,
for Christmas, and it came with a lot of the games that I had. So it's played a huge part in my childhood and my life. So
my Sega Genesis was as well. I had Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
I had that eventually,
and I, of going right back to where we were. I had a Power Rangers game on it.
I never had one of those.
The Power Rangers game was a like Mortal Kombat ripoff.
Okay.
And I'll never forget. You could be Zack, the Black Ranger, and press B and C and alternate B and C, and he would pull his axe out and just swing his axe in like this 360 motion and hit people. You couldn't block it. It was like a glitched move.
Uh-huh.
That game was so easy when you could do that, and people would get so mad when you'd play them. But yeah, the Sega Genesis was.
So was that on your list too? Sega Genesis.
Yeah, actually was. Yeah.
Okay, so was that what you did? You want to talk about that, or was that all you wanted?
Oh, I was just going to go ahead and I was just
the Power Rangers.
Yeah, because
that was the game.
That was that Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was.
I mean, we could have an entire episode about the Sega Genesis.
I think
I had like tons of games that were all impossible, and I didn't beat any of them except for Sonic 3.
Yeah,
Sonic 3 was the one that I could beat, and honestly, that was even kind of tough. Remember, we beat it one day.
We did
as grown-ups at your house.
Yep. We played the Xbox version.
We would switch off.
Yeah.
We'd switch levels and switch who would take control and stuff. But
that was fun. I remember that very vividly, actually.
You want me to go now?
Sure. Because I just touched on
since we had Crossroads. Okay.
Sure.
What was next? Okay, here's another one from Mattel. Another toy. So I can't remember the magazines. But I used to get magazines. It might have been like JCPenney magazines whenever you're a kid, and it has all those toys in it. Now,
you're talking like the wish list books.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
the JCPenney toy guide. That's what it was called.
Maybe that's what it was. And that was you get that thing around like fall and look at that thing like I want all these toys. But it
was like the size of a phone book.
Yeah. So
to us, it may not have been, but to us, it was like the size of a freaking phone book. It was a big deal.
So I remember they had one section of nothing but Rugrats toys, and they had all of them. They had Tommy, Chucky, Stu, Drew. They might have had Grandpa Lou for all I know. But I was like, I want that Tommy Pickles. He talked, and there was multiple different Tommy Pickles. There was some where he's in a different clothes. But this was just this standard Tommy Pickles blue shirt diaper. And I got that for Christmas. I asked specifically for that, and I got it for Christmas. And I remember that being a big part of my childhood, maybe from like ages 6 to like embarrassingly so, maybe 9. But it was just such a cool toy. I mean, like
what's wrong?
There's nothing wrong with it. Rugrats is great. Yeah. Rugrats is a great show, and no guilty pleasure here. That toy was awesome, and it fit in very well with my repertoire of other doll-like toys.
Your other plushes.
Yeah.
So hold on just a second. I had to take a sip of water there. God, you got me all choked up about Tommy Pickles. 1995 brought out a movie called Batman Forever.
Yeah, they did.
Buddy, let me tell you what. Batman Forever consumed my life. Now, I had not seen Batman or Batman Returns. I didn't even know they existed. I just saw Batman Forever. I remember seeing Batman Forever in the theaters as a kid.
I think I did too.
And it literally consumed my whole existence for like a whole year. Like the Batmobile and the Batwing and the Batboat and like, dude, I can't tell you how many Batman toys I went through because I played with them so much that they just would fall apart.
Yeah,
they would literally. And plus, a lot of those action figures back then versus action figures today, they don't hold up like they used to. You take a Marvel Legend today against a Batman toy from back in like 95, it's night and day difference.
You're saying that they're better now?
I think they are.
Okay.
I think they're
maybe my mind is playing tricks on me with how the quality was in these toys in the 90s.
I mean, to me, they held up, but it's like if you would just twist an arm a certain way, it'd pop off and you're done.
Yeah.
Today, everybody's got the nice joints and the, But anyway, Batman was the thing. I was Batman for Halloween. It was like a whole thing, dude.
Yeah.
I just Batman was my like 95 to like 96, 97, early 97 toys.
Until the real Batman and Robin came out.
Yeah. And then I was no longer a fan of Batman.
Then Mr. Freeze consumed your life.
God.
I also watched that one in theaters too. And I even think at a young age I was like, this sucks.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, I actually watched Batman and Robin at the Capitol Theater down the street here.
Yeah, you might have.
I think I did.
I think
I think that was one of the last movies that they showed down there.
I think we were on vacation in like Myrtle Beach. That was one of the things we loved. We loved to go to that mall theater at Myrtle Beach, and I think Batman and Robin was one of the ones we watched. I have a pretty fond memory of that. Unfortunate for like such a bad movie, but I'm trying to remember if I was that into Batman Forever. I remember being really into Jim Carrey.
Now that's the thing.
Anything Jim Carrey.
Was part of it.
But I don't remember if I had any like Batman Forever toys though.
Yeah.
I do. This isn't on my list, but compared to that, they came out around the same time. Is that I do remember having some Nightmare Before Christmas toys, and then some like I was really into Nightmare Before Christmas when it came out, and it's one of the things I just kind of forgot about until I was like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Like I forgot that it existed. I guess because so many other things consume my life. And I was like, oh, this really awesome movie came out. And I think that was around the time I started to like resurge.
Sure.
But I had a really cool Jack Skellington toy that I don't know where that thing. I must have flushed it down the toilet or something.
Oh my god.
I don't know. But it was awesome.
No longer here.
Don't look it up. It might have actually sucked. But to 4-year-old me, it was an incredible toy. But that's not on my list because I really don't even remember it. Next on my list, continue with the dolls, I guess. So if you know me, you know that my favorite film franchise is Toy Story.
Oh yeah.
And I've been a fan since day one.
I'll go ahead and preface it with Toy Story is also on my list.
Okay, so we can come together.
So we can come together.
Okay, so yeah, 95. Oh gosh, so Toy Story. I had a Woody doll, which was a lot better than the ones they make now.
Oh,
I can tell you.
Did it have the pull string on the back and he talked?
Yes.
And he come with a little plastic plastic hat.
And he was like loosey goosey too.
Right.
Like if the ones now are like really kind of
He was like
stiff.
a rag doll. He literally was like a rag doll.
Great.
He loved
and
it.
I had a Buzz Light.
Same thing.
I had a Buzz Lightyear. I had a Rex. Maybe not like a big Rex, but like a Rex. He wasn't as big as Woody or Bugs. I don't even know if they made that big of a Rex. They probably did, but I just didn't have it. And I had a Slinky dog, which just sucked. That thing got destroyed after like a day. But I also had like a Mr. Potato Head. And honestly, you know how Andy, the first scene of Toy Story, is like coming up with like a story, and like Mr. Potato Head is like robbing the bank. Like that was my life. That was my life, creating movies in my head, in my room, creating like villages. I had all the Toy Story toys.
Yeah.
And that consumed my life because it was Lion King in '94, and I had a good strong run with Lion King.
Yeah.
Like I bought that on VHS, and I would just read all the text on the back, like directed by whatever. I was like, why am I into this? then looking at me now, it makes sense why. But Toy Story came along in '95 and it just defeated everything, and it has not let up.
It hasn't let up. You have Toy Story tattoos, for God's sake.
I have Toy Story tattoos, and I have a big like plushy Woody that my nieces got for me for Christmas a few years ago.
Your Buzz, was it like the one that the one that like you'd press his buttons and he would talk? Okay, so we had the same thing.
And his wings would shoot out.
His wings would shoot out if you pressed his chest button.
They had some different ones. They had one that was like a glow in the dark Buzz that was like sort of like translucent kind of. I didn't like that one as much.
My Buzz, I don't know if he was faulty or anything, but his head thing would go back.
Yeah.
And then one day it went back so far that it got stuck. So I was never able to push it back forward.
I mean, I personally never liked the Buzz toy as much as the Woody toy. It just wasn't as good. It was stiff. That thing would hurt if you hit someone with it.
Well, I had they had made a RC car, like an actual RC.
I had one of those too. I had like the car from the movie.
Was it kind of good sized?
Yeah.
It was pretty good size, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever try to put Woody and Buzz on that?
I'm sure I did.
Because when you did, it went nowhere.
Buzz weighed a ton.
He did, man. Yeah. He was like a paperweight.
I mean, like Woody was like weightless, but yeah.
It's like you because I was like, you know what, I'm going to recreate this scene from Toy Story where they're going down the street, because I had, the alley outside of my house.
Yeah.
It was just, put Woody and Buzz on that car, and I set the car down and hit those two things to push that thing forward, and it just went. I was like, well, we're not gonna be able to do that, I suppose.
And I think my Woody doll's still around, but it is annihilated. It's been like cut open and has like drawings on it because my little sister eventually got the doll.
You handed the doll down
just like the movie.
Like the movie.
It's just like the movie.
And then she destroyed it.
I think I'm mad about to play a role in destroying it too. Because I probably played with it till I was like 9 or 10. And then, Toy Story 2 came out in '99, and I didn't get as many toys then. Like I don't think I ever had like a Jessie doll. I think at that point I was a little, I wasn't necessarily too old for it, but I was like, in my mind, I was like, come on, Caleb, you are a basketball star now. You cannot be playing with Jessie dolls. And I kind of wanted a Zerg doll now.
I kind of wanted a Zerg doll too.
I don't think I ever had one unless like they had like Burger King had like now they
had a
like
little
toys.
toy,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a little one.
Yeah, that's my Toy Story story.
I mean,
Never ending.
Toy Story was yeah, that's true. That's true.
Never ending.
We'd watch 5 if it came out. So.
I would be reluctant. Then I'd be like, what the hey? They haven't failed.
Yeah.
Except for Lightyear, kind of.
Yeah, Lightyear was.
It was okay.
It was okay.
It doesn't count. It's a different thing.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
Okay. Who wants to?
You're
go next?
You're up.
So we crossed. Okay.
Yeah, because we crossed that one.
Okay. So funny you talked about the RC car or whatever. So I still have this. It is a Chevy truck racing track. I remember we had a racing track of cars that my dad had from like the 80s, and I was born in 90. So he'd bring that out sometimes, but it didn't feel like mine and my sister's. It felt like my dad's. And eventually they got us the Chevrolet truck racing track for Christmas one year. It came with 2 trucks, and that thing was awesome. Like it also kind of dangerous because it would like I feel like I can't count the amount of times that it like nearly caught on fire. Yeah, because whenever you're racing those things, man, they catch some heat.
Yeah.
And like on the tracks and stuff, and like you pick it up and smell it, like, oh no, that's not good.
This is rubber.
This is not good. But I still
This is rubber burning.
I don't know if it would work now, but I still have the box and all like the track parts, and I'm sure
I'm sure it would.
It never played. It was a brief part of my childhood, but it was very fun. Me and my sister would race that, and Dad would obviously come in and referee it because we would get into it. You know, like if one of the other lost, like, it is on. Like, how dare you defeat me at the Chevrolet racetrack?
How dare you?
Yeah, that was a fun one. I'm gonna have to bring that one back and maybe post a picture or video of it on our Facebook page.
Sure,
maybe
that'd be cool. So 97 happened, and I'm going to combine these two because they're well, no, I won't because I'm sure you've got some more. But 97 happened, and I'm in grade school, and when I went into Mallory grade school in the mornings, they would, whenever people were coming, when all the kids were coming in, and I remember this also plain as day, they would put everybody in the gym until school started, until the time that everybody was supposed to go to their classrooms. And our principal, Mr. Vinovich was his name, he would have a TV set up every morning, and he would be playing movies, like just family-friendly movies. Well, one day he played this movie called Star Wars, and opened this whole monster to me of this galaxy far, far away. And there's only been 2 like things in my three toys or topics that have consumed every single aspect of my life from 97 till now, and Star Wars is one of them. You know, I've always been a huge Star Wars fan. Love Star Wars, except for the sequel trilogy because it sucks. But other than that, but it literally consumed me more than anything toy related at that time until the next one. And the main toy that I remember having was this big, huge Millennium Falcon. The toys would actually, like, the action figures would be able to go in it. It wasn't, well, granted, it might have been huge to me as a child. Now it may not be huge at all.
Yeah, everything's a little bigger.
But I would at least say it was at least maybe 16 inches long, probably. So it was about like that.
Yeah.
And very, very wide.
The people can totally see that.
Yeah. But anyway, but what was really cool about it is that you could put the stuff in it, and you could put Han and Chewie in the cockpit, and then close up the cockpit and everything. And instead of like having to hold it to fly it around, the landing gear would come down, and the landing gear was a handle, so you could just do it like flail it around with the handle. And I have never gotten in trouble. I did, but with a toy like I did this one, because I thought one day that it really could fly.
It could.
And I threw it, and I hit my mother in the stomach with this big, huge Yeah.
Okay.
I got it taken for a little while, and I was so distraught. Like, I was like, no, not my Falcon, no! So
You're just like Luke at the end of Empire Strikes Back.
Exactly. That's exactly how I was.
Oh, gosh.
But yeah, dude, Star Wars was, and it still does, it with The Mandalorian now. You've seen our bedroom. It's consumed our whole entire existence as far as pop culture goes. So, Star Wars, man. I mean...
Yeah, I hate that I missed the boat on Star Wars, because you were introduced to it in an awesome way where other kids were as well, when basically the teacher played the movie for you in class.
Yeah.
I always knew about Star Wars, but I wasn't introduced to it. I didn't watch them until I was in my 20s. And I feel like that has affected how I view Star Wars, and I hate that. That makes me so mad. I feel like I was robbed of that, and I don't know. Just why did I have to watch Terminator 2? Why couldn't it have been Star Wars?
I mean, Terminator 2 is a good movie, dude.
Listen, it's great.
It's a good movie.
Should I have been watching it at 3? Who's to say?
Yeah, sure. There's nothing. There's nothing really like super. Well, yeah,
it's violent.
It is violent.
It's violent. It has some language.
So, I mean, I was watching the James Bond films at like
it's not as
8
bad,
and 9.
It's
so
not
I mean,
as Terminator.
That's true. That's
no, but I really wish I would have watched Star Wars when I was a kid. I think I would have a much stronger appreciation of it all as a whole.
Yeah, I understand that.
It really ticks me off.
We'll go back in time whenever they get that stuff situated.
Next we're getting into some sketchy territory. So
is this your cheats? Is this your
see,
cheats?
This one's very brief. For some reason, it just I don't know, it just popped in my head. I just remembered so well, but I don't think these toys lasted long. I just don't think they were meant to last long.
Okay.
And these are actually toys you would get at a restaurant. It was like how McDonald's, Burger King had the kids meal. These were from Pizza Hut. And they had these Casper toys. They were like I guess maybe silicone, but they were glow in the dark. They were little hand puppets, and they glue in the dark. And it had Casper and the 3 other like ghosts: Stinky, Fatso, Stretch.
Why do I remember having a Stinky?
Everybody had one of these. Everybody did, and I think I had all of them, because I also had like a Casper actual toy. But I remember getting these.
They were kind of like hard plastic, weren't they?
Yeah, these were a big deal at Pizza Hut. 95 at Pizza Hut. So I believe I somehow got all those, and I had them. They, like I said, they were not meant to last long.
Sure.
But I do vividly remember. For me, they were like the third or fourth thing that popped into my mind when thinking about toys that I had in the 90s, and not even necessarily good toys. Like what can you do with a little hand puppet that really doesn't even move? It's very stiff when you put like your fingers in it or whatever, and it glows in the dark. But I mean, does it glow in the dark that well? Probably not. It's a Pizza Hut toy. But I mean, I was like all kids, I was into Casper in the mid-90s.
Sure,
that little brief period of time, and I had those. And
Casper was a good movie. I liked it.
It was okay, yeah.
I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it at all.
That's what it hasn't really crossed over into my adulthood, you know. But as a kid, I did love it.
Definitely need to watch it again.
Nah.
Okay.
Nah. It's due a watch, I think.
Yeah. Well,
what's next on yours?
Next for me, August 1997. I'll never forget this either. I was introduced to wrestling for the first time. Yes.
I bet we have some crossovers here, maybe.
Possibly. WWF at the time. SummerSlam, Heart and Soul. Main event was Bret Hart versus The Undertaker. The first wrestling match that I'd ever seen was Mankind versus Triple H inside a cage. I was hooked immediately. Hooked at these larger-than-life people. And, again, one of those things, it literally consumed my whole entire existence. One of my fondest memories of a toy was having a DDP Brawling Buddy.
Oh yeah, I had that.
Do you remember the Brawling Buddies?
I had that, and I had a Sting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I never had Sting, but I had DDP and
there was a Hogan one too.
Maybe it was Hogan. I think I had Hogan.
There was just a few of them.
It was just I think they only made 4 of them.
Yeah.
Was maybe Macho Man the other one?
Maybe that sounds about right.
Because I think they had him in the NWO Madness
there might have been
stuff.
5 then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, loved, and I still love professional wrestling. I've always been a wrestling fan since then. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I'm still a fan. I still sit there and watch it, and that if I'm talking toys that has shaped everything in my life. Wrestling, without a doubt. Because, I mean, you know, anybody that knows me personally knows I'm a commentator for a wrestling company. It's literally took and encompassed people that I've met in life that I consider friends. And the toys and stuff just built and grew that love for professional wrestling. So definitely wrestling figures is...
Hey, I had wrestling figures on mine too. Mine's a little different. Mine's a little lamer. Like, I'd say a lot lamer, because you know who was not allowed to watch WWF as a kid? Me. I was not allowed to watch it.
Well, I mean, it was your parents loved you. That's why.
So I did.
Your parents loved you.
So I didn't have WWF. I had all the WCW figures, and I tried to look up the exact figures, and I couldn't. I had so many of them, and I don't have them. I gave them all away or something.
Yeah.
I had all of them. Like, literally every wrestler that you could imagine in WCW, I had them all. And you know what? They were pretty good toys too.
Oh yeah,
they were very flexible. And, But here's the kicker: is that I had a ring, but I had a WWF ring. I believe it had like a cage and everything. It was a big son of a gun.
Yeah.
But it was all. I don't remember having one single WWF wrestler, because I just wasn't aware. I wasn't really allowed to watch it till I was like 11, 12, and I kind of got out of it. Wrestling for me from the ages of 7 to 10.
Yeah,
that was around the time I started getting into basketball, and I transitioned to that. But from 7 to 10, that did consume me. No doubt. There's always like these periods like there's Lion King, there's Toy Story,
exactly.
And then there's the wrestling. Wrestling came in, and I would get like. At the time, like you know, as a kid, you don't look at it as it's fake. I would get legitimately upset watching pay-per-views and see my wrestler lose.
Absolutely.
Like the Giant would lose, or like Sting would lose. And I would probably cry and get upset.
Well,
like,
you've got those goggles on of like you don't know what's real, what's scripted, what's predetermined.
Yeah.
You know, and we're not gonna we can honestly dig that pull that curtain back at some point maybe, but. Yeah, as a kid, you are consumed by these, like I said, larger than life characters. It was like a movie come to life in front of a live audience. It's theater. So it's literally live theater.
I had all those toys, and I even I was such a big Sting fan that for 2 years in a row I was Sting for Halloween. But here's the kicker: 1 year I was the early '90s Sting with the
Surfer Sting
with the bleach blonde hair and I was that Sting.
You're gonna have to find. Is there pictures?
I hope there is. But
oh my god!
Then the next year I was the the Crow Sting.
Okay.
And I do know that there's pictures of that.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome. I had like a baseball.
You're gonna
bat
have to show me those pictures.
It's pretty sick. So that might have been a little bit after I was into wrestling. So I think I might have been like the one Sting. The Surfer Sting in 5th grade and the Crow Sting in 6th grade. Yeah. And then I really kind of didn't watch wrestling anymore after that. But,
Wow.
It played a big role. Do you want to go next?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Because I'm assuming you've got a few more, because I've got one left.
I feel like there's a big maybe jump here, because wrestling, like I said, consumed my life for those 3 years to where I started getting into basketball. Where I played basketball at 8. I was not good. I was awful, actually. I started getting good maybe around 10. But I had this puff basketball rim.
The ego that I got good around 10.
I did. It's just a fact. I made the All-Star team that year. I was pretty good. But I had a puff basketball rim inside my kitchen. I don't even know.
A puff
So it's like a little basketball hoop you hang up to the door.
They can totally see you.
I'm sorry. I don't know how to get into the doorway. You put it up there, and then you have a little puff basketball. It's like a Nerf basketball.
Yeah.
And I had that in the kitchen.
I know what you're talking about now.
So I would, as all things, this is definitely a toy to me, because whenever we were creating stories with Toy Story characters and we were creating stories with wrestlers, I would create full-on basketball leagues, and I would be multiple different people, because at the time I really, video game wise, I still didn't have a PS2, so I couldn't play the really good basketball games that I wanted to play. I was still playing the really crappy Sega Genesis games that are honestly terrible basketball games. So I had to create these things, and I would create, I was in Buddy League, so I would have actually real players, but but we were grown-ups, and we were all professional basketball players by then. So, I would do that. I did that from 9 to 11 or so, And I was like, you know what? I'm getting pretty good at basketball. I need to just stop this and just focus on the real thing. But that was a big part of my life, because that transitioned to my real life of basketball, and I've been a huge basketball fan ever since. love the sport. I don't play it as much as I'd like anymore. I'm getting a little older, and my ankles break easily.
And you do have glass ankles.
My ankles just like I played in a game right before the pandemic, and I kid you not, my ankle sprained 1 minute into the game. Nobody did anything. I was just crossing the lane. I was like, oh no, my ankle. But yeah, the Puff basketball game, I had some of the best times, like literally just to myself.
Yeah.
And my parents probably thought I was insane because I tried to keep it quiet because it was in the kitchen, so everybody was not in my room. There was just not enough room in my room. The kitchen, there was so much more room, and I created full on basketball leagues. There was like championships, there was MVPs. It was awesome. You know, I got an actual basketball hoop outside.
Sure.
Then I started doing that outside, creating actual leagues.
The basketball league moved to the outside.
It's not as immature if it's on a real basketball.
Hey, but you talk about that though, but you doing that and forming these pseudo basketball leagues.
Yeah,
you were practicing every day.
It is practice.
You were literally practicing every day.
My dad would say that playing on the Puff basketball room would make me worse.
Well, yeah,
because you're playing with a Nerf-sized ball.
Sure,
and, but it's
but
you were
getting the love of the game, though.
Love a game. Then it's like I said, I did help me practice when I actually moved to the actual basketball rim outside. So,
sure,
yeah.
Sure, I can see
that.
that.
I had a big time with that one. So
yeah, how many more you have? Because I have one.
I have a few more.
Okay,
let me see.
Because I'm sure
I have two more, but the last one goes. There's like multiple things and there's layers to it.
Okay.
And it's not even a toy, but I consider it.
I would honestly say that mine is multi-layered as well.
My final one is multi-layered, and it may even lead into another episode eventually. So,
ooh,
spoiler alert! It's not that interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting to me. Okay.
Well, if you find it interesting, people.
So you want me to do one?
Sure.
Since you have one, you have one left.
Yep.
So this one is a big one that's definitely transitioned to who I am, and I'd say it's maybe the biggest one. And I was 9 or 10, and I started to get really into music, like super into music. So I think it was at Toys R Us, and we found a toy guitar, and I got a toy guitar. I absolutely could not play that thing.
Sure.
It had real strings on it. It wasn't like a thing that you hit a button. It had real strings on it. I remember my uncle at the time was really good at guitar, and he'd pick it up, and he actually could rock out on it a little bit. But I had that guitar, and it started my music career at an early age because I was really into Weird Al Yankovic. So I started the persona.
I know this story.
I started the persona of Crazy Caleb. And I made an album. I had a cassette player. I had a cassette player that I learned how to record stuff off the radio, and I would come up with my own radio stations. But that's another thing. You can consider that toy. That's another thing. But I did not have a microphone, so I found out how to take a headphone. Like those really crappy headphones that they're not earbuds, but actual headphones. And I found a way to use that headphone as a microphone. I could plug in the headphone into the microphone jack on my cassette player, and it would work as a microphone. So I recorded like vocals and stuff, and I would play the guitar, not well. It's like sometimes I had like backing tracks that you get off of like a single.
Sure.
Because I would do parody songs. They were all terrible. I remember I did like a parody of like the LFO song, Girls of the Summer, or something like that. And I do not remember the parody, and I'm glad. And that tape existed, is in my room. No one's ever going to hear it. No one's ever going to hear that tape. It is awful.
I'm going to go on a search in his room. Don't worry.
It is. You'll never find it. Actually, I think it's pretty easy to find. It's like, I'm not saying it's in my top drawer, but
gosh,
but it's there. And that guitar played a big role because while the guitar had an absence in my life there for a few years, I eventually did pick up an actual guitar whenever I was in the 8th grade. And I took off running with that son of a gun. It took. You did not know me, John.
No, I'm talking about from.
Oh yeah, no. But in 8th grade, I picked up that guitar, and I'd say within a month I could play it. I was just like, and I didn't have guitar lessons because I took it serious. I was like, this is serious. Okay, I gotta be as good as Blink-182 on this thing. Okay. But I think the toy guitar really helped with that, and just my overall love for music at that young age. Not saying it was good music. I listened to radio top 40 stuff, but I would act like a DJ, and I would use all these things that you're not supposed to use to actually record with, and I would do it. I would do full-on radio shows, and I made a whole entire cassette tape of just my songs that are awful, and no one's going to hear them because they are terrible.
I mean, that's fine.
But yeah,
There's plenty of... Never mind. We won't get into that. I was going to say there's plenty of stuff out there today that's terrible, but...
Yeah, I mean... Okay, what's your last
one? All right,
one?
so my last one is... It's so... Like, oh, of course it is. Of course it is. I'll never forget, for my birthday, I received a PlayStation.
Uh-huh.
And if there is one thing anyone knows about me, is that I am a gamer. Video games consume the majority of my free time. If I'm not doing the podcast, if I'm not doing something in my apartment, I'm probably playing a game of some sort. I'm playing the PlayStation. I'm playing a Switch. I'm playing Xbox. Something. I had the Nintendo. I had the Sega Genesis. But the first real leap into 3D gaming and stuff was the PlayStation. And that opened up a whole world to me of what we could do with video games and what we could do with the technology and how the technology advanced. You look at a PlayStation game today, it doesn't look like anything to a lot of people. Unless you're a retro gamer, you don't necessarily appreciate that game. But as a kid, you throw Crash Bandicoot into a PlayStation, dude, and you're good for 3 weeks, 3 years even. You'll play that game to death. And a lot of people today don't. And I'm soapbox moment, but a lot of people don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
Of getting a game that is finished, that gets a game that you can throw months and years into and get just as much of enjoyment the first time you play it as you do the last time you play it. Again, Crash Bandicoot, you throw Crash into a console and you sit down and play it, it's a nostalgia thing. It's a nostalgia thing. But for me, that nostalgia kept going, and it's been going for almost, I'm 30 I'm going 30,
nearly 30 years.
I'm nearly 30 years. And it has literally consumed life for me. If there's one toy, and I don't necessarily consider a PlayStation a toy, but if we're going to classify it as a toy, that toy literally encompasses who my personality is as a person in life. I'll never not play games.
Yeah.
So if there is a toy that has made me over the years, without question, it's PlayStation and video games. No question.
Yeah.
No question.
That unlocked a memory that I wasn't even thinking about for me, because I didn't have a PlayStation until it was late. People already had the PS2. I was just behind. Maybe we just didn't have enough money. But I do remember we would rent PlayStations at the local movie store. So those were event weekends when that would happen, because we would always get Crash Bandicoot 2, no doubt. It was the only game.
Crash 2.
Because
okay guys,
we got 3 days to beat this game.
Yep.
We never did. But it was always an event whenever we were able to rent the PS1. Sure. Obviously, you did get a PS1. I was a little late on it, but I always loved those Crash games. Yeah,
dude, those Crash games were a whole different monster.
Yeah. So this last one for me, not a toy, but whenever I think about collectibles, even at a young age, I have a hard time not considering that like a toy, because whenever you start collecting something at a young age, despite it not being like something you can play with, people collected Pokemon cards. So
sure, but I forgot about Pokemon cards.
Yes, so I never did any of that. So, but what I had, this goes back into my love for basketball, is that I collected basketball cards. They were the brand was Topps, Topps.
Topps,
yeah, and I would go to Walmart every Friday with my girl. We'd have a day out every Friday. We'd go to the store, then we'd go to Shoney's afterwards. But she would always buy me a pack of cards.
Sure.
I'd get cards every week, and I still got a lot of these cards in my room inside of like a folder. And it was such a surge of like excitement to see like who's going to be in this pack of cards. You don't know who's going to be in it. And sometimes it would be like players that I just don't know, but maybe that was a good thing. I could learn more about it. The internet wasn't quite there yet, so I would learn more about players, and maybe I would see them on TV when they actually played. And I had all those cards, and that led into that. While that did help my love for basketball, that led into me purchasing magazines.
Sure.
And because to learn more about, like, remember there was like a basketball magazine called Slam Magazine, and there was
I remember.
I would get a prescription for. I would get like a prescription. I would get a subscription, a subscription for Slam. But I was probably too young to be getting that magazine. There was some iffy stuff in that magazine. My parents didn't know, and I personally loved. I loved seeing all the stuff inside that magazine. But that also ended up coming with another magazine called East Bay, which had all sports stuff in it. It's the sports stuff that you could buy. And while I was saying that this leads into maybe another topic at another time, it's just a little like spoiler for that. But I got to thinking about my childhood and how you can't make money for yourself. So some things that you want you just can't get until maybe you're a grown up. And it just dawned on me that the reason why the things that I collect now as an adult, I think of sneakers. I collect sneakers now is what I do. I got into that a few years ago, and I think it dawned on me that looking at through those East Bay books, through purchasing basketball cards and whatnot, I would see all those sneakers when I was like 10, 11. I was a basketball player. I was like, I want all these sneakers, but we cannot afford these. We'll never be able to afford these. And me as an adult looking back on, I was like, I can get these sneakers now. Like I can get these sneakers at the age of 30. I got a job. Like if I want to spend money on this, I can, and no one can stop me. Do they cost more now? They do. It's like if you look back at the prices of stuff then in the early 2000s, like, oh my God, the Air Jordan 11 is like $120. Retail now is $200, and you won't get it on retail. You have to get it resale. Yeah. So like that I think they ended up the cards transitioning to magazines because they definitely connect because they were like literally side by side at Walmart, and all that connected to me collecting stuff as an adult and still having the love of collecting things that might not be toys, but it's always good to have a love for something and collect something even whenever you get a little bit older. So that was my big one probably.
Well, that's the thing. Like you're absolutely right about how those things can mold into the things that you collect today. Yeah. Case in point for me, was always a fan of music and things like that growing up, but never really. I only had physical copies of albums because today Spotify we can get anything we want at any time. I right around the age of 13, 14, I was given some records. Yeah. And I fell in love with records ever since. I love being able to take a huge 12 by 12 cardboard frame and pulling out a booklet and pulling out this and and just seeing the art and everything. So yeah, I completely agree with you. Like the things that we have when we're younger, and even then, like case in point too, the price of vinyl has went like skyrocketed in the last in the last 6 or 7 years. Yeah. I remember I could go into a place and pick up a record and it would be like $6 or $7 because there was no audience for that. Now you walk into a record store and a vinyl, a actual pressing from like, let's say 1986 or something like that, it's $27, $28, and you're just like
sometimes 40,
and sometimes more. And sometimes more. It just depends on who you're looking for. But yeah, it's crazy how the stuff that we see when we're younger affects what we do when we're older.
Yeah, and it makes you appreciate those things a little more, and that's why you take
absolutely.
A little. Then whenever you're an adult, you take a little bit more care of them because you're like, well, I've missed those things. I should have took a little bit of care of those. So I think that it all connects.
It does. It really does.
It all matters in the world. Okay, people.
As long as you like it, that's what matters.
Well, okay.
Well, Caleb, I mean that's we've touched on a lot this week. So are you good? Are you done?
That's all.
Are you done?
That's all. That's all I had to talk about.
All right, so let's go ahead and see what next week is going to bring. I hope it's good.
I hope it's good. Oh, that doesn't count. No,
that doesn't count.
That does not count.
I just threw one just
popped out. I don't know.
One just popped out at me. Well, I've grabbed two here. Two.
We're doing two topics next week.
I mean, we possibly could. Oh, well.
God, Josh.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Well, folks, next week it's going to be our first draft episode.
Oh, no. A draft episode.
A draft episode of TV shows.
Oh, go.
So
it's a good one.
It's a good one.
It's not a niche one.
So, just to let you know how this is going to work, real fast.
Okay.
We will have 15 television shows to pick from. It can be from any era of television. It can be any television show, period, as long as it has one season.
And we can't pick the same show,
Can't pick the same show. What we will do next week's will be a very short episode. We will alternate back and forth. Maybe
we should
we'll talk
a little bit about the shows, yeah.
We will alternate back and forth picking our 15, and then we will put them online for you all to vote for to see which one that you think is the better
If I'm being honest with you,
section.
I don't care what you people have to say about my choices. I'm gonna pick what I like because
just remember that when you vote for me next week.
Because I do these
2 weeks from now.
I do these tournaments online all the time, and you people fail me left and right.
Oh, you were going to talk about Pineapple Express?
No, I was
not Pineapple Express. I was
doing
Step Brothers.
Oh yeah, I was doing some tournaments, and I did an Adam Sandler movie tournament. Happy Gilmore won that. I did a Seth Rogen one. Pineapple Express won that. I did a Jim Carrey one. Eternal Sunshine Spotless Mind surprisingly won. Awesome. And I did a Will Ferrell one, Step Brothers one, and I had them face each other. Actually, Jim Carrey, Eternal Sunshine didn't win. My bad. Dumb and Dumber won. But Eternal Sunshine made it far. But I had Dumb and Dumber play
Eternal Sunshine is a better movie.
I had Dumb and Dumber play Step Brothers, and Step Brothers almost beat it. What's going on? But then eventually Dumb and Dumber faced Happy Gilmore, and Happy Gilmore won. And I'm just like, I don't understand. I don't know what people like.
It's a nostalgia thing, man.
Dumb and Dumber's not nostalgic?
Not compared to Happy Gilmore. In our area.
Gosh, whatever.
In our area.
Listen, whatever.
So
I'm
again,
done with that.
So again, next week we will be back with our TV show draft episode. Caleb, where can people find us?
They can find us on Facebook. They can find us on Instagram. They can find us on Twitter.
On YouTube.
On YouTube. And obviously, stream us anywhere you'd like. Wherever you're streaming us right now, if that's where you want to stream us, go ahead and do it. But you can find us on places like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, what's the other? Google Podcast, any iHeartRadio.
Just type in Chat from a Hat. It's going to come up somewhere.
It's going to be there.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining us this week on Chat from a Hat. I am Josh Brown.
I'm Caleb Luther.
And we will talk to you next week.